All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's jump in and get started. I'm so excited to spend the next hour with you covering the 5 sources of business that you need in 2026 to take more listings. My name is Taylor Kerrigan, and I am one of our Glover U coaches. I am also the CEO of Glover Agency, which is the #1 team in Michigan. We killed it last year. I can't share the number because we have to share it with our team first, and we're going to do that at our award ceremony. But we have broken a company record for sales volume, a very, very nice number. And we've done that with about 40 agents within our organization. So I've had the absolute honor of working alongside Jeff for the last February is going to be, I think, 15 years at this point. And what's cool about that and why I'm excited to be here specifically with you today is because it gives me the opportunity to talk to you about what our organization looked like when we were selling 100 homes and then what it looks like today selling 1,000 homes. And when I talk to you about some of the systems and some of the things that you can implement in your business, the difference when you're working with a coach like myself and working with Glover U is we're still in this every single day. I just got off of a team meeting with all of our agents where we're talking about things that we need to do for our new sellers that we just got this week and how we help them with getting their home sold. So it's just one of the benefits when you align with Glover U, you're in a position that you're with a coach who's boots on the ground with you and here to support you at the highest level. If you're not familiar, and actually I would love to know, thank you to everyone who's dropping in the chat and saying good morning. If this is your first time at a Glover U webinar, I'd love to know, why don't we do like a 111 in the chat if this is your first event? I know there's quite a few repeat attendees, but if this is your first one, welcome Amy. We're excited to have you. Melanie, Shannon, love it. Mirka, thank you for taking an opportunity on us. If you're not familiar with Glover U, we are a broker agnostic coaching company. And how that benefits you as a client or as a viewer today is that means that you get all different perspectives within Glover U. We don't care what flag you fly, what company you're with. It could be blue, green, yellow, red, black. We don't care. We take the best of all of the brokerages and all of our clients, and we turn around and share that information with you. On top of that, we have one mission at Glover U, and that is to impact the lives of millions to put you in the position that you're living your unreal life. I can tell you just in 15 years, my favorite question that people ask me is like, hey, where do you think you're going to be 10 years from now or 15 years from now? If you were to ask me that question 15 years ago, I would never be able to say that I'm living the life that I have today. And I have that because of a lot of you and of Jeff. So thank you for that. But as I mentioned, Glover U is a broker agnostic coaching company. We try to do everything we can within our power to put you in a position to win. And again, all of our coaches are still actively selling real estate or working with a team or a brokerage that is actively selling real estate. And so we're excited to be able to pour into you and thank you for that opportunity. And so going back to my story really quickly before we get into the 5 sources today, like I mentioned, I started working for Jeff about 15 years ago. Cool story. Jeff actually hired me as a brand new marketing assistant. I had just gotten out of school and I was going to college for marketing. And my sister had went to school with Jeff, and he posted on social media that he was looking for a marketing person. And my sister was like, well, why don't you just go get a little experience and then, you can use that on your resume and then go and get a real job, is what she said. Now, it's funny because here I am 15 years later and I made one of the best decisions of my life. When I first started working alongside Jeff, he was selling about 100 homes a year at that time. And I was in that marketing assistant position, and we quickly found out at that time, what Jeff needed wasn't necessarily a marketing assistant, it was an executive assistant. He needed someone who is kind of holding his hand, reminding him like, hey, you need to call this client, or hey, this client's waiting on you for X or Y, and really kind of holding him accountable to what he said he was going to do. So I fell into that executive assistant position, and that very next year, he and I sold 227 homes together, 100 to 227 in 1 year. And I don't share that because there's like some magic something that I gave him or implemented in his business. It boiled down to systems. I implemented systems in his organization that allowed him to go from being a reactive real estate agent to a proactive real estate agent. And I will tell you the rest of my career with him to this day, it has been exactly that. It has been implementing systems that allows us to grow, which I know, from coaching real estate agents and working with our agents here at Glover Agency. At the end of the day, you want to earn more, but you don't necessarily want to work a ton more, right? We want that work-life balance that allows us to still show up as presents, mothers, fathers, husbands, wives, and still be able to hit our income goals and live a great life. And from working with agents, I really have boiled it down to at the end of the day, it's just how you have systems that help you within your business to allow you to be that best agent for your clients and then ultimately hit your goals. So every year since then, we've increased our business. Like I mentioned now, I am the CEO of Glover Agency, which is our real estate team here in Michigan. Last year, we sold just around 1,000 homes and had an amazing job doing it. And I'm honored to be here with you today. So that's a little bit about me. Thank you for being here today. Hopefully, I'm able to give you some value in the time that we have. And specifically, I want to talk to you about today the 5 sources of business that you need to focus on in 2026 to be able to take more listings. Now, you may wonder to yourself, okay, Taylor, why are we just focusing on listings? Now, we do have coaching classes and so forth that we teach at Glover U that focuses on buyers, but when you surround yourself with our coaches at Glover U or with Jeff and myself, we will always try to do everything we can to teach you to be a strong listing agent. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't like buyers. We do love buyers. We just know that there is a little bit more control that you have in regards to your time and predictability when you're thinking about sellers, right? We've probably all had that situation before where you have a buyer, you've shown them like, 10, 15 homes, and then they kind of fall off. And it was a deal that maybe we were counting on or a deal that, we really hoped would come together and, it didn't come to fruition. That doesn't happen as much when we're working with a seller. And so that's why, when we're talking today and, the more that you get involved with us, we try to coach you and lead you down a path to become a strong listing agent because it's ultimately what we want, and know that it's the best for you. All right. So what I compiled for you is essentially I just went through our last 2025 numbers and I specifically had our team poll what were our top 5 sources of business specifically with sellers in 2025. And now I'm going to take you through those sources, but then specifically kind of share with you how you can implement them in your business. For those of you that have taken Systems of Real Estate previously, which is the course that I teach, which by the way, if we have any of Systems of Real Estate previous attendees, I'd love to see you drop like let's do a 555 in the chat if you're listening today. You'll know that I always try to do everything I can to give you like step by step because I've been in your shoes and I've gone to trainings or I've gone to webinars where I'm like, all right, well, that was a waste of, 45 minutes or a waste of an hour. I didn't really get the meat and potatoes. That's not what's going to happen today, and that's not going to happen when you involve yourself with us. All right. So let's get into it. Turn to a clean sheet of paper. There is the workbook for you down in the chat. By the way, make sure today that you change your chat settings to everyone instead of just hosts and panelists. So that way everyone can see it, not just myself. Excited to have you, Gabriel, in the upcoming course. So there's the workbook for you. Go ahead and download that or turn to a clean sheet of paper because we're going to get into the 5 sources that you need to focus on. And the first source that I'm going to start with today is one of the ones that I feel like in most organizations is the strongest for most agents, and that is your database. All right. So step 1, as far as sources of business or first source of business, I want you to write down the word database. And specifically when I'm talking database, I want you to write down there's 5 different types of databases. All right. So the first source of database that I want you to write down is Sphere// past client. So you could write like SOI/past client. Okay. And if you wonder what that is, Sphere, those are the people you know, right? I always, if I'm working with a new agent, I'll say those are the people that are in your phone book. If I were to scroll your phone book and stop on someone, that's someone who's in your sphere because if you have their phone number, it's probably someone that you know from a previous, get together or friendship or anything in that regard. Okay. So database number 1 is Sphere/past client. Your second type of database that we talk about is your social media database. All right. So that's your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn. If you're a TikToker, it's your TikTok. It's whatever social media platform you have. All of your followers on there are actually a database. Okay. And we're going to talk about in a second how you love on them. I'm giving you the preface though first of what databases I'm talking about. Your third database that you should make sure you always have is your agent to agent referral database. The more you come to Glover U events, we just finished up a great one in Scottsdale, Arizona last week. This time last week we were there. And then we've got another one upcoming in June in Traverse City. The agents you meet at events, from different parts of the country that you have the ability of building relationships with, that is your agent referral database. Your fourth database is your CRM. I don't care what CRM you use. It's whatever, I heard a mentor say years ago, your best CRM is the one that you actually use. Those are the people that maybe inquired on a sign of yours or you met at an open house. They're not necessarily a client yet. They're not necessarily someone you've transacted a business with or business transaction with yet, but you've got a name, a number, and a phone or an email. That's your CRM database. Okay. And then your fifth database, the final one, is your hybrid farm database. You're going to see, I'm going to share with you today, hybrid farming is my number one source of business. I actually just got a lead this morning from my hybrid farm. I got to call them back when this webinar is done and set an appointment with them. But it is an opportunity, and you have a neighborhood that you want to get more business out of and you implement hybrid farming into your business, it's a great source of business that is a little bit more predictable than some other sources. Okay, so those are the 5 databases that we talk about at Glover U. To repeat them: Sphere Past Client, social media, agent referral, CRM, and hybrid farming. All right. So now let's talk about how do you get business from those databases. It's not enough just to have their name and contact information into a CRM or into a spreadsheet. How do we actually get business from them? And I want you to write down this one line because I truthfully mean it. I teach it a ton in the systems course. Consistent output is consistent input. Okay, I want you to write that down. Consistent output is consistent input. And what I mean by that is, like, when I look at a producing real estate agent's business, I've been in this industry now for 15 years. I've worked with thousands of agents. I can kind of see, they do this thing that's called like the real estate roller coaster, right? You have one month that's really good and you have one month that's not as good. You have one month that's really good and you have one month that's not as good. I can normally pinpoint part of the reason why we're on that real estate roller coaster is because we got a little bit too busy in the business that we forgot to love on the database. And now that affects our paychecks 90 days from now. And so when we have consistent output, it allows us to have a little bit more consistency as far as getting referrals from our database inward. So how do we do that? Great question. So first I'm going to show you, I'm going to do a quick screen share here. I've got some slides that I'm going to walk you through today that kind of give you examples, because I think it's one thing to tell you how to do something. It's another thing to show you how to do it, which is why I put together some slides for you with specific examples. So let's start. I want you to do this activity first. Let me just do slideshow here. So you should be able to see my screen. If you can't, someone in the chat tell me. I want to start with the database audit plan that you need to go through. And why we have you do this in the beginning of any of our coaching relationships is because we need to know how much money we potentially have left on the table by not being consistent with the database plan. How do you do that audit? That's on the screen for you. All right. So feel free to write this down. For any of you who do this quickly, I'd love to know what your number is in the chat. Step 1 is really to figure out how many people are just in that Sphere and Past Client database. I don't care about the other ones yet. I'm simply talking about Sphere/Past Client. Whether it's 100, 300, 500, 1,000, whatever that number is, and you can do a guesstimate. You don't need to go necessarily to like your Google Sheets right now and figure it out. What is that number? How many people are in that database? From there, I want you to times that number by 0.08. Now, last year, you know how many deals you did from your database. Maybe it was 10, maybe it was 20, whatever that number is, you subtract that. And then you simply multiply that number by your last commission check. That's how much money we left on the table by not following a consistent database plan. If anyone figured out that number, I'd love to see it in the chat for you. I will tell you, it doesn't matter if you've been in the business for 5 years or 15 years. all of us have an opportunity of loving a little bit more on our database, and that's why following a database plan is so important. Now, what I've noticed about a lot of agents is the reason why they're not following a database plan is not because they don't want to do it. It's because they don't really have maybe that creative side or that consistency to be able to do it every single month. That's why we operate from a database plan. On this next slide here, you see that there's our February database plan. Feel free to take a picture of this or a screenshot. It'll also be in the recording that comes out with today's webinar. This is our checklist. So in our organization, every single month, a database plan similar to this comes out and says, hey, if you're going to touch your database, oh my gosh, Brandon, 270,000. All right, take a picture of this database plan. You've got an opportunity here to get a little bit more business. So when you look at this, what I want you to see is if you're going to call them, here's exactly what you should say. If you're going to do an event, here's the event that we suggest. If you're going to mail to them, here's the mailer that we have a ton of success with. And so I actually teach you this in the systems course. I go through all 12 months with you, but today we're going to spend some time on February, and I'm going to kind of talk to you about what this looks like in your business and how you can implement it. I'll tell you right off the bat, if you are currently doing like one thing with your database, say right now, every single month, you're pretty good at sending them an email. Perfect. I love that. I'm going to coach you and push you outside of your comfort zone to add one more thing. If you're calling right now, I'm going to say maybe let's try to figure out how we can do an email blast too. Or if you're emailing right now, I'm going to kind of push you to find like a call or a client gift that you can add in addition. Now, before you say, gosh, Taylor, that's going to be really expensive, we're not doing that necessarily every single person every single month. I'll share with you again how to implement it. So let's start at the top with calling for Valentine's Day reservations. First and foremost, this is a perfect way for you to do something for your database right now that actually could cost you $0. All of us have access to apps like OpenTable, Resi. I know there's some other ones out there. What I would ask you to do is to go and make a reservation right now. It's January 21st. You're early enough that the reservations are not booked. Go and make a reservation at Hyde Park Steakhouse, or I just had a great meal last week at Mastro's. Make one or two of those reservations for Valentine's Day evening at, 7 p.m., 7:30, whatever the case is. And then reach out to your clients and say, hey, Eric, this is Realtor Taylor Kerrigan. I don't know if you already took care of it or not, but I have a couple extra reservations that I made for this upcoming Valentine's Day. Are you and Mary already taken care of, or would you like me to transfer one of them into your name? For the men in the chat, sometimes we forget last minute to make those reservations. This is an opportunity for you to reach out to them. And again, it could cost you $0. I will tell you, one of the things that you can do to make it a little bit cooler, if we talk about like doing an Unreal experience, imagine if you made that reservation for, Eric and Nicole, and then you also called the restaurant and you had a bottle of champagne delivered to their table or a dessert delivered to their table. There's a lot that you can do there. All right. And again, could be completely free, or we could add on an extra layer with making it more unreal. So there's the option for like calling or event. Outside of that, look at that mailer. Okay. One of the things, and I'm going to admit to you guys, I have a little bit of a problem. I love subscription boxes. This is how this happened years ago. If whatever subscription box you can think of, I have it. HelloFresh, Ipsy, Birchbox, even my dog gets a Bark box. And I thought to myself a while ago, like, man, I love getting these gifts. And if I feel this way, our clients must feel kind of cool too, like getting things in the mail when they least expect it. And so what we started, gosh, this is probably like 3 or 4 years ago now, is we started implementing VIP boxes. And so what the VIP box is the whole goal is to send them something that could be considered quote unquote Instagrammable. And so you'll see there's a mix of different things that we do for the month of February. Super easy to go and get a bunch of those sugar cookie kit mixes. They're like 99 cents at the grocery store. You buy bulk heart cookie cutters and you mail it off to some of your best clients. By no means am I suggesting that you send this to every single client in your database. That might be a little costly. Instead, think of these three areas when it comes to the VIP boxes. Area number one, it's your people who recently had a milestone in their life. Maybe they just announced that they're having a baby, or maybe they announced that they had a job promotion. Usually, when things like that happen, typically we know that a house change may change or may be in their future within the next couple months or years. Helps you with staying top of mind. Outside of that, the second group that you can think about with VIP boxes are people who have referred you lately. Say someone gave you a referral lately and you just want to show them appreciation back. Send them a VIP box. Your third option is people who maybe you haven't heard from lately. I can think of there's this client that I used to have that, man, she was my biggest cheerleader and she kind of fell a little silent. Now, I'll admit, years ago, I wasn't operating from this plan yet, and I didn't do a good enough job of staying in front of her. Well, she ended up, getting married, and one of her cousins in the new family was a real estate agent, and I lost that relationship because I wasn't staying in front of her consistently. That's why things like this matter. Okay. So there's an example of what that would look like if you were to send that out. And then your last one there is email. I will tell you, we teach you a ton in the Systems of Real Estate course. How do we be infotaining is the word that I want you to write down. Infotaining. And what I mean by that is, and don't laugh at me, but this is kind of like a made up statistic, but I feel like it's right. I personally believe that 50% of people have planned moves, right? They know that when their kids are ready to down or go off to college, they're going to downsize. They know when they reach a certain age, they're going to sell the house and move to Florida. That's your 50% of moves that are planned. There's also 50% of moves that are unplanned. Now, all of a sudden, they're expecting a baby. Now they had a job transfer, whatever the case is. As a result, if we're only sending market updates to our clients consistently, we're hitting that 50% of people who are planning on moving. But the 50% that don't have any intention of moving right now, they're taking those emails and they're deleting them, right? They're not even opening them. They're getting right to their trash. So if you stay to be infotaining and instead give things that are more hyper local or focused, it gives you an opportunity to attach or to stay in front of both groups. The 50% of people who are looking to move, and then the 50% of people who are not looking to move. And that's why it's important. Okay. So I'm going to pull this down while we move on to the next section. And for those of you that are asking for the slides, they will be in your recording. So we'll make sure that we get you a copy of them. But that's our database plan. So when you look at that number that all of you calculated, for Brandon in the chat, the 270,000, I will support you and help you with getting more of that money back when we follow the consistent database plan. And that's source number one for 2026. A way that you can succeed with listings is being in touch of your database consistently. All right. Step number two, or source number two that I want you to write down. I want you to write down the word expireds. Expireds. I will tell you, I know that not everyone loves prospecting expired. Sometimes it is one of the highest, most rejection sources of business that you can experience. However, they are the deepest down the funnel. They already had their house on the market. They already had a sign in the yard. They already had people walking through it. They just simply need a different plan to get it sold. And that's why it's a strong source of business, especially for listings in 2026. So when we talk about how to actually implement expireds or the system behind it, I want you to write down these couple tips, okay? Tip number one that I want you to write down is direct mail. Direct mail. The reason why direct mail is important is because in the day and age today of do not call lists, wrong phone numbers, spam calls, we want to still get in touch with those people, but maybe we don't have the capability of speaking to them on the phone. Direct mail gives you that opportunity. And so an example of what we send for direct mail, I'm going to pull this up on the screen again for you here. Let me just get it ready so it's good to go. An example of direct mail looks just like this. You should be able to see my screen. If you can't, let me know. Here is our direct mail piece. As you can see, it looks a lot like our normal listing material that we send out. Just simply up at the top, it talks more about recognizing that their home has been recently taken off of the market, and we understand that they may need additional support. The biggest thing when we talk about expired mailers, you have to help them understand that a different plan is all that they need. So if you notice on here, we spend a lot of time talking about like the proactive approach. No one markets your home more. Agent comparison checklist. It's a way of getting in touch with them without necessarily picking up the phone to get in touch with them that puts you in a position that they say, all right, honey, let's give this guy a chance or let's give this girl a chance. Okay. So step number one with expireds is direct mail. Step number two with expireds, following that trend of like trying to stand out, trying to be a little bit different. You know, we just had Jesse Cole as one of our keynotes at the summit. If you haven't seen him before, he's with the Savannah Bananas, amazing guy. Our whole focus with this next part is how do we kind of stand out? Like if a lot of people are mailing them or a lot of people are calling them, what makes us a little bit different? And so what we implemented in our organization is something called an expired box. Essentially, it's giving them a couple tools, a couple things that are different. It's kind of taking that VIP box that I just showed you and doing it with expireds. Now, I will be transparent with you. You're not going to do this with every expired, but if there is a good, let's just say $600,000 property that photographed well, looked good, and for whatever reason expired, heck yeah, I'm sending them this expired box. That's a great commission check for me on the back end. And this box is maybe costing me $4 or $5 to send out. Better yet, door knock them and drop it off at their door. Two birds, one stone. Okay. Your next way of working with expireds is the classic calling them or texting them. I have the expired script up here for you. If you want all of our scripts, I know we had a lot of first timers on. If you want all of our scripts, if you just text the word scripts to 55444, I'll repeat that number. It's 55444, and it's the word scripts. You'll get access to all of them. Okay. So it's your classic calling them, which again, that script's up here on that screen. I'm going to kind of go faster through this one because it's just reading through the script and using it while you're on the phone with them. The last one that I want you to think about as a method of working with expireds is another form of mailing, but in this case, it's a postcard mailing. And so in our organization, what we do is over a span of like, let's just say, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we're sending them a series of postcards. Because we know that sometimes people are quick to put their house on the market, or maybe they're waiting for a couple weeks, maybe they're doing some renovations before they put it back on the market. And so it's the consistency with staying in front of them, again, pairing it with calling, pairing it with door knocking, whatever you're most comfortable with, that causes them to say, yeah, I'm going to take a meeting with that person. Okay. So to repeat that, your methods of working with expireds outside of just calling them are direct mail, which is the trifold piece that I showed you, the expired box, which is taking it another step up, what's making you different, a little bit more luxurious. Number three is the calling and the texting. And then your fourth one there is the expired postcard. And it's the consistency that makes a difference with those. Okay. So there is your second source of business that we're getting listings from in 2025 and will continue to do in 2026. And that is expireds. And Alexandra, yes, you're right. Maybe in some markets, expireds don't work for you. I will tell you, I have a couple coaching clients in Canada who have succeeded with expireds, just not calling them. Different ways of doing so. Okay. So let's talk about the next source of business that we are succeeding with getting listings in 2026, and that is for sale by owners. For sale by owners, a little bit the same as expireds. I will tell you the biggest difference between expireds and for sale by owners, okay? Expireds really just need a different plan, okay? They need to be told that, listen, your home didn't sell because of the previous agent and a different plan is all that we need. On the other side of that, for sale by owners, what I want you to write down for this, it's very simple. You have to be the first one in and the last one out. The key with expireds is you have to be the first one in and the last one out. And what I mean by that is typically a for sale by owner who lists their home today on January 21st, they typically decide what agent they are going to hire based on or by the fifth or sixth week of being for sale by owner or trying it on their own. Statistics will show you, and there is a report out. I can't remember the name of it in this moment. I'll have to come up with it. It's like the consumer report. They will tell you when they study for sale by owners, the people who list with an agent will tell you that they typically listed with the first agent that contacted them. And that's why this is important. You have to be the first one in and you have to be the last one out or the last one standing, is what Jeff would tell you. Okay. So, what are the tactics that we use with for sale by owners? I have four of them here for you. All right. Number one, very simple. Pull this back up so you guys can see it. Is your script. It's just very simply calling them. Again, this is in the script book for you, so we won't spend time dissecting it right now. You can do that. I will tell you, however, you'll notice in comparison from the expired script to the for sale by owner script, it is a lot of asking questions with for sale by owners. We want to build rapport. The more rapport you build with them, the more they like you, the more they like you, the more they trust you, the more they trust you, the more likely they are to hire you. All right. So when you see us going through this for sale by owner script, I want you to pay attention to the kind of those italics at the bottom there that Jeff has. When speaking with for sale by owners, always remember that the value is not in just finding them a buyer, but it is getting the sale to the closing table. Anyone could go out and find a buyer. Anyone could go out and get an offer on a property. The value that you provide as a real estate agent is helping them get to the closing table for the most amount of money and in the shortest time possible. All right. So number one is calling them. The second tactic with for sale by owners that we're using is actually offering to host an open house with them or for them. Host an open house for them. You have the opportunity, kind of a couple things with this. Number one, our ultimate goal is we would love to get that listing, right? Opportunity number two with hosting an open house with them, you may actually bring a buyer to that specific property and end up helping them, still sell the property, but now on the buy side. Or option number three that could happen by hosting an open house for a sale by owner is you meet a buyer who maybe doesn't buy that house, but they buy a different property for you. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily have to do this every single weekend, but I will tell you we have a couple agents in our organization that do this once a month for whatever for sale by owners they're in the deepest rapport with that they know are close to making a decision of hiring an agent. Okay. So number two is host an open house for them. Number three is the for sale by owner box. So it looks just like the expired box, a little bit different from the standpoint of we'll include things like a blank seller's disclosure statement. In our state of Michigan, all seller's disclosure statements, regardless of which brokerage you're with or if you're for sale by owner or not, look the same. We'll include for them like some booties that they can put at the front of their house for people to put on before they walk through and track snow or mud through the property. We'll give them different things that can make their house show better, just like cleaning wipes, things like that. Again, it's how you make them feel. People make decisions on who they're going to hire based on how you make them feel. And so if you want to do a good job of standing out amongst the crowd, maybe consider implementing something like this. It's worked for us this year. And then your last one here is up on the screen. It is, for sale by owner guide. Okay, I have an example of it up on the screen for you. The reason why this works is because people always be like, Taylor, why do you give them a 52-page guide on how to sell their house for sale by owner without you? Transparently, it's because they make it to page 5 or 6 and they realize that it's easier for them to call me than to listen on their own. You'd be surprised, the more you give, the more that you get. And so when we talk about succeeding with for sale by owners at a high level, actually help and support them with trying to give them that information, and doing it, obviously in a giving way. All right. So to repeat for the for sale by owners, your four tactics are the following. Number one, calling them. Number two, hosting an open house for them. Number three, the for sale by owner guide, and then box. And then number four is the for sale by owner guide. Okay. As far as getting the VIP boxes, I know some of you are asking those questions. And the VIP boxes for sale by owners or for expireds, we make them in-house. And I teach you exactly how to do that, in the systems course. Okay. So there's your third system or source of business and the system behind it that we've succeeded with in 2025. Let's move to the next one. And this one is my favorite. It's hybrid farming. Your fourth source of business this year that you're going to succeed with in 2026 is hybrid farming. So cool story behind this. When I started, I've obviously been with Jeff for 15 years. I've helped him sell tons of homes. The difference though is I was kind of always on the transaction coordinator side. He would go and get a listing contract signed and he'd bring it over to me. He would go and get a buyer agency agreement signed and then he'd bring it to me. I never actually had to go on a listing appointment myself or go on a buyer consult myself. I always just took it from signature to close. And so when I told Jeff that I wanted to explore being the sales director at Glover Agency and really kind of supporting our team in a different way, he told me that I had to go and get the respect of the agents by walking more in their shoes and actually going on listing appointments, generating my own business. And so I said, all right, well, you've been teaching this hybrid farming thing. Like, why don't I go and try that? And so I implemented hybrid farming in my business, gosh, 3 years ago now. And within the first, it was 16 months, I had 50% market share in the neighborhood that I farmed. And all I did was follow the exact plan I'm about to give you that you can implement in your business too. Now, what is important for those of you, because I know we have a lot of first timers on today that maybe are not familiar with hybrid farming or what it is. Essentially, hybrid farming is taking your traditional farming, which that is your like just listed postcards, just sold postcards. You can still do that, but it's layering on additional things that allow you to build more connection and community with the people that live in that neighborhood. I'll give you some examples of what that looks like. But what's important to know is when you're considering hybrid farming, if you're like, yep, Taylor, that is the source that I'm going to take away from today's call and I'm going to go take it and run with it. You have to make sure that you have a neighborhood that has around a 5% turnover ratio. And how you calculate the turnover ratio is very simple. Step one to determine the turnover ratio is you have to figure out how many homes are in the neighborhood. Okay. So let's just say it's a neighborhood of like 200 properties. All right. So you pull that number. By the way, you can get that from like your public record or your MLS. It's easy to go in public record and say, hey, show me how many houses are in this subdivision. So that's step one. Figure out how many properties are in that neighborhood. Step two is then you need to figure out how many homes sold in that same neighborhood out of those 200. So let's just pretend 5 divided by 200. Okay. Your goal is to try to have a neighborhood that has at least a 5% turnover ratio. The reason why we do this and the reason why it's so important is because I don't want you to do all of these things I'm going to teach you with hybrid farming for the one sale that's going to happen that year. And that one sale ends up going to like someone's aunt, and you never had a chance at it. Okay. And yes, this is within, honestly, now that it's January 2026, you could do this for all of 2025. If this is something that you implement, let's just say mid-year of next year, I would just tell you then it should be within the last 12 months. Okay. So that's how you determine the turnover ratio is by following that formula. I will tell you if it is a neighborhood that you live in, extra points, that makes it a little bit easier because you can say I live here and I sell here. If you don't, that's okay. My other bit of advice from you, just word to the wise. And again, this is one of the benefits that you get when you're in Glover U coaching because I'm literally doing this right now. It's good if you have a neighborhood that has a clubhouse or a central meeting point. So when you host events or you do certain things, it's easy for everyone to get together and connect. Otherwise, it makes it a little challenging if you have to go outside of the neighborhood. Okay. So let's talk about, I've got a couple tactics that you can use with hybrid farming. The first one I want you to write down is sponsor or host community events. Sponsor or host community events. So here's some examples of that. I will tell you actually right now on my desk before I do the share screen, right now on my desk, I have postcards. Actually, I have a ton of them right here that I'm sending out to our neighborhood for an upcoming event that I am hosting. So when we say sponsor or host community events, naturally, if your community already hosts things consistently, then find out how you can maybe partake in it or sponsor it. If they don't do anything, then you have to try to bring that to the neighborhood. So an example of some events that you can host right now, I've got the Valentine's Day bingo postcards in my hand. Here's a word of the wise, if you are, or word from the wise, I should say. If you are looking to host a event in your neighborhood, make sure you know your demographics. It's a mistake that I made in year one of hybrid farming. I had done a lot of just like family-based events, and they did well. You'll see here on this next slide, here's some pictures of them. I did Easter egg hunt. There's the Valentine's Day bingo, which I'm going to talk about in a second. I did a lot of family events, free fall family photos, photos with Santa. All of them performed well. However, what I learned from the experience is that I was seeing the same people over and over again. And I'm like, man, there's like 400 people in this neighborhood, and I'm only seeing the same like 100 of them. Where is everyone else? And I realized I had made a mistake that I catered all of my events just to one demographic within that neighborhood. And so I went back and I kind of studied the neighborhood a little bit more. And this is why, if you live there, it's a little bit easier for you to kind of know the demographics of the neighborhood. And what I realized is my neighborhood was really broken up into two. It was younger families it was their first home, or it was people who were later in life and it was their, final home. And so I asked myself, like, man, I'm doing all these family events. What about that older demographic? So jokingly, I was like, well, what does 70, 80-year-olds like to do? Naturally, you're all saying to yourself, bingo. And so I hosted the first Valentine's Day bingo. And I have to tell you, we had over 100 people register for Valentine's Day bingo. We had a large amount in attendance. And I will tell you, it was the number one thing that when I sat down with our HOA president, she asked me, I got to make sure we get bingo on the calendar again, which is why this, what is it, February, I think February 12th, I'm posting Valentine's Day bingo. Yes, February 12th in our neighborhood again. So just make sure that if you're hosting events, you're aware of what the people in the community see value in, because ultimately, if we're going to do it, we want to make sure that we get attendance from it. Okay. So that's number one, sponsor or host community events. Number two is consider sending a market update. Now, here's the thing that's important when we're sending a market update. Here's an example of two on the screen for you. You really want to talk about what has sold in the neighborhood. If you sold any of them specifically, make sure you promote that. But what's most important is you'll see on the one on the right-hand side, there is a QR code. I have a QR code for them to scan to get their home's value. We use a system called Fellow. They're a great partner of ours at Glover U. And I pay attention to the people who scan that QR code, specifically those who scanned it, but maybe didn't finish it all the way. Maybe they put in their address and they didn't put in their name and their phone number. That's a great lead for us to call and follow up with. All right. And so when we're talking about market updates, your benefit with that, we've already talked about like the 50% of people that are planning to move versus the 50% that aren't. This is me marketing to the people who are planning to move and doing everything I can to make sure that when they make that decision that it's time for them to call a realtor, I'm the first person that they think of. All right. That's your market update. That is number two. Your third, if you are in a community that, you're thinking to yourself, man, Taylor, I do want to farm my neighborhood, but I don't have that clubhouse you mentioned, then consider sponsoring places they go. This is a slide from one of our agents, Dave Bendernagel. He has killed it with hybrid farming this year as well. And he actually is sponsoring his kids' planners. Every day, for those of you with young kids, you're part of like the expectation is that the parent signs off on the homework or on the planner, or any of the important notes go in the planner. So think about this. Every day, the kids are pulling out this planner, and the first thing the parents are seeing in that neighborhood are Dave's face and Dave's family. So if you're in a situation that maybe you can't sponsor your community events because there's not a clubhouse or a central meeting point, at least think about the places they go and how can they see you. Your whole benefit with hybrid farming is doing that layer of the traditional farming, but then also including in-person or community events that they're seeing you that way as well as in their mailbox. Okay. Your last strategy under hybrid farming that I want to share with you is your open house strategy. So I'm going to pull this down while I share this with you. Your open house strategy. So this is what I do with open houses. It is a non-negotiable. Anytime I have a property in my farm, I am always hosting it open. And my goal with this is very strategic. And actually, the script I am about to give you, this tactic I'm about to give you, helped me sell 3 properties last year all within 60 days of one another. I took the lockbox off of this door and I walked it to this door, two doors over. I took it off of this door, I walked it over four doors over to this door with this exact tactic that I'm about to provide you under hybrid farming. And it is your open house strategy. So go ahead and write this down. Number one, underneath the open house strategy, if your market allows it, you should absolutely, every single listing, you should be doing a coming soon. We want to try to generate some engagement on the property. We want to start collecting those views on Zillow. We want to get them excited about that property. So if your market allows it, absolutely do it right away. So you go coming soon, let's just say on Wednesday, okay? Now, step two is on the day that you go active. My suggestion for you is going active on Saturday, okay? Step two is active on Saturday. And I specifically want you just to block off showings for the morning. I'm not asking you, I know a lot of MLSs don't let you block off showings for days. That's not what I'm asking. I want you just to do it for a couple hours, okay? I essentially want your showings to start with the open house. Your goal with this is twofold, okay? The reason why we do it this way is because we want to make sure that there is a line of people out the door. And the reasoning and the logic behind creating that line of people out the door is not only the classic, like, if any of you have ever shopped on Black Friday, you know, like you stand in line for hours for that like $5 toaster. And it's you only bought the $5 toaster because everyone else wanted the $5 toaster. You didn't actually even need a toaster. That's why this strategy works. It helps with creating like, oh my gosh, honey, we can't screw around. We got to come in strong with this offer. The other reason why it works, having all of your showings start with the open house, is the impression that it's going to give to the neighbors. Okay. And so when I am doing this, here's the script that you're going to use. This is your next step in the open house strategy. Before the open house occurs, I am door knocking 10 neighbors to the left, 10 to the right, and 10 across. And I'm using this very simple script. I'm knocking on their door. Hey, Realtor Taylor Kerrigan, I am so sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to let you know I'm working with your neighbors, the Johnsons, a couple doors down on selling their property here on Schoolhouse Court. And I wanted to let you know this Saturday from 12 until 2, we're hosting an open house on their property. I am simply letting you know because there's going to be a little bit more traffic in the neighborhood than normal. So if you have any kids, pets, things like that, again, I apologize in advance. It's only going to be 2 or 3 hours. And I want to make sure that you're in a position to know, I apologize. There's just going to be a little bit more traffic than there normally would. Okay. And by the way, if you want to stop by, maybe you know someone who's looking for a property like theirs, we'd love to see you. Okay. Then you get off the porch. Hopefully they come to the open house. If they don't, totally okay. What ends up happening is when we go back to them, let's just say that open house is on Saturday, we go back on Monday or Tuesday and we door knock them again. Okay. And this is what we say. Hey, Realtor Taylor Kerrigan. Again, thank you so much for your cooperation on Saturday. I know we had so many cars in the neighborhood, and I apologize for that. I appreciate your understanding. I wanted to let you know we shouldn't have as much traffic anymore. We ended up selling the Johnson's property, and good news, we sold it for $50,000 over asking price. So that actually helped increase the equity in your home too. And by the way, we ended up generating 13 offers on the property, and I can only sell it to one family. I was curious, who else do you know who wants to live in the Highland Lakes community? Because I have 12 more buyers who wrote great offers on this property that really want to be in this specific neighborhood. That is how I took one lockbox from this door to that door to that door. Okay. So that is exactly the script that I use every single time I have a property. Honestly, regardless if it's in your farm or not, it is a great open house script. As long as it's a property that you think is going to get good traction and good movement, I would use that strategy every single time. Okay. So that's your last one under hybrid farming. It is the open house strategy. So to confirm or to recap on those, number one, it's sponsor or host community events. Send them a market update mailer. Let them know what's going on in the community. If you can't host community events, then number three, sponsor the places they go. Or number four, open house strategy. Okay. For those of you that asked in the chat, what I'm providing to them when I'm at the property and door knocking them, I'm actually giving them an open house flyer that says you're invited with some details on the property and my contact information. And then for the other person in the chat that said, do you have the buyers or are you looking for the listing? My goal, sometimes I do have the buyers. Sometimes I do have buyers that I wrote an offer on my listing. It's actually looking for the listing. And I will tell you that second house we sold out of the three, I actually got a buyer for that property from that first listing. Redirected them from there to there. It is one of the best things you can do specifically with hybrid farming. And if they're interviewing other agents, the reason why they would list with you is because you have a database of buyers that are looking specifically in that neighborhood. Okay. All right, your last script, which by the way, are you guys getting, or I'm sorry, your last source of business. By the way, are you guys getting some value out of this? Drop a 777 in the chat if you are. If you like the first four sources of business, love that. Thank you. I appreciate knowing that you're getting some value. By the way, make sure you stick around because I will tell you some ways that you can get more of this over the next 16 weeks. Let's talk the last source of business, which is social media. One of my favorite. I know some of us hate social media. It's an extra chore. We tell ourselves it doesn't work for us. Here's the thing. I will be transparent with you. Um, the agents that don't do social media are going to get left behind. And what I mean by that is even my 73-year-old mother is on social media every single day. All right. Your clients are on it consistently. It is a great way to stay in front of them. It is a great way to make sure that you know what's going on in their life and you're available if they need something. Okay. So let's talk. I've got three, actually, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I have three things that I'm going to cover with you under social media, how you can implement this source. What I want you guys to notice too, for those of you that have been to our webinars before, these are new things that I'm giving you. And when I say new, it doesn't mean like things that I came up with last night. We've already tried and tested them at Glover Agency for the last year. When you're with us in our coaching, we're constantly saying, hey, this is something new that we've been doing that's been working. I try to avoid giving you stuff that you've heard over and over again. I want you to know the new things that are working. Okay. So step one under social media. This one, I'm gonna tell you, it's kind of basic, but it's gonna work. All right. And it's what I try to do and quite a few of our agents, and it helps with getting people to reach out to you. I want you to very simply follow this format. Okay. Step one, post to your story. So your Facebook, your Instagram story. Those are your little circles or squares up at the top. I want you to post to that once a day, showing them you're working. And when I say showing them, I mean showing your social media database that you're working. Okay. I want you to text, or I'm sorry, I want you to post, whether it's you're walking into the office, you're showing a house, whatever it is, just show them you're working every single day. By the way, if you're not working today, like use an old picture. As long as I'm here in Michigan, so make sure that you pay attention to the seasons. Otherwise, someone's going to call your bluff. But make sure that you're showing them you're working every single day. Okay. It is something as subtle as showing that you're out on showings every single day or out on appointments every single day that's going to make a difference. Pro tip here, make sure that if you want more listings, we don't constantly talk about how many showings we're going on. Just say appointment. No one needs to know if you're on a showing or a listing. You're not telling a lie. You're on an appointment. You'll get more listings if you do that. If we constantly just say we're out showing homes, people will only think that you work with buyers. Okay. Learn that the hard way. All right. So step one is post to your story every single day. Point two this is still under point one, so call this like 1A and then 1B under social media. I also want to make sure that if I go to your Facebook or Instagram right now, if I look you up, I want to make sure that if I look at your profile, I see some consistent videos from you. Good rule of thumb to write in your notes, 3 a week. Okay, 3 videos a week to your feed. I will always coach you that your stories are going to benefit you because it's the quickest way for someone to DM you and say like, hey, I saw that listing you posted. My cousin's looking in Huntington Woods. What's the price of that one? It's more likely that someone will DM you about something personal in your stories than they will put it as a comment on a post. That's why that one's important. The reason why posting to your Facebook or your Instagram is important is because it's your social media resume. For those of us that have had previous jobs, you used to take your resume and you would hand it over before they interviewed you. We don't have that opportunity anymore in real estate, but we kind of do because your social media profile is now that resume. Clients' minds are made up on you 50% of the way before you even step foot in their door. And that happens because they look you up. And so what am I going to see? So to recap that first point, it's post to your story 5 days a week, showing that you're working. and post to your actual feed with a video 3 days a week. Okay. Step 2, under social media, consider creating a guide of some kind. This could be downsizing, credit repair, investing, um, buying your first house, whatever it is. I don't care. Whatever source or type of business you are passionate about. Use ChatGPT, come up with a guide, go to Canva, make it pretty. Consider running ads on social media for people to download those guides. If you have someone who downloads a first-time homebuyer guide, I'm not the best betting person, but listen, I'm willing to bet that they're probably a first-time homebuyer if they're downloading that guide. Now you have a lead. Okay. Your third source under social media, or your third system, I should say, under social media, think about this. Do you have a seller that you recently helped? Okay. Maybe it is someone, the example that we just used recently is we have an investor who bought a property with us, was able to do some slight renovations to it, and they turned around and resold it for a great profit. We did a full interview with this person and we ran social media ads on it. Essentially, we said, hey, to find out exactly how we did this for James, reach out below. We got a ton of investor leads of people wanting that same experience that they had with our agent, Courtney. So think about a client that you had, whether it was a seller, a buyer, I would prefer it was a seller, and talk about how you helped them. Record it on your phone, either sitting together or in a Zoom format, and then take that and run some advertisements with it. Anyone who listens to it and downloads your guide or downloads, for more information, I'm willing to bet that they're a lead of that type of person. Okay. So there are your 3 subcategories under social media. That is, in the last year, our 5 sources of business that we got the most listings from. I kid you not, I pulled our listing boards and I sorted it. I threw it into ChatGPT and I said, out of all of these listings that we took in 2026, which by the way, we average about 70 listings a month, what are the top 5? And those are the sources that they gave me. Now, I love all of you asking me, can you tell me more about this? How do I do this? Where do you buy this? That is the beauty of the systems of real estate course that I teach. If you got value, all of you that dropped that 777 in the chat, if you got value out of that last 60 minutes, imagine what 16 hours is like with me. That is hosted on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to tell you how to find out more information about it right now, so listen up. I want you to pull out your cell phone, and just like you were sending a text message to a friend, I want you to text the number 55444, okay? And I want you to text the word systems. Okay, so you're going to text the word systems to 55444. That will give you more information on the class. I just dropped it in the chat for you. It's no obligation. It's not like you're going to auto sign up by texting it. It just tells you more of what we talk about. And the Systems of Real Estate course, I've taught it now for 5 years. And I'm really, not to toot my own horn, I'm really good at teaching it because I walk you through the behind the scenes of every single thing. It's not enough to tell you, hey, go do this. You need someone who is going to tell you step by step how to do it. And that is exactly what I do in that course. And I know how to do it because I'm the person who's running it behind the scenes. So when you ask questions of like, hey, would you do this versus that? I can tell you because I've been there. Not only do we cover the 5 sources that I spoke with you today, we also get into internet lead generation. We talk about the 5-star review program. We talk about more in depth on database. We talk about hosting events. I give you all 12 months of that database plan that you just saw only February. I give you all 12 of them and I tell you how to do them. And we talk customer experience. And that's just a little bit of it. So if you got some value from today, I would love to see you in the class. We start on Tuesday, February 3rd. So basically, what is that, 2 weeks from today? I start at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and I will tell you, I give you a lot. Ask anyone who's taken the course previously, and they will tell you it's one of the best within Glover U. Melanie, great question. We do cover buyers in Systems of Real Estate as well as listings. Okay, we'll cover both of them for you. So if I don't see you around in Systems of Real Estate on Friday, there is another webinar that is taught by Jeff that we are getting deep into. Okay, now that you have the listing, how do you price it properly and how do you get it sold? So if you didn't sign up for that one yet, you can go to gloveru.com/webinar. I hope to see you in the Systems of Real Estate course. If I don't, we do have another event this June in the Traverse City, Michigan for the retreat. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My email is taylor@liveunreal.com. Otherwise, I will see you guys soon. Let's make it a great day. Bye.